Normal Show Live is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting normal.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of Normal Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of Normal. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents Normal Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, Normal's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good afternoon, tokers and tokettes. Welcome. It is Wednesday, October 12th, 2011, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thank you for being here. We're glad you're joining us. We got a great show for you today. All sorts of fun coming up on today's show, especially considering today is the middle of the week. You know, on the middle of the week, we got all sorts of special stuff, including our Irie Wednesday. Today's Irie Wednesday is extra special because we have joining us from the islands, the Green 808, the Green, that is, the Green808.com, will be here on the show. Tell us a little bit about it. Joining us from beautiful Grass Storia, Oregon, is the lovely Cannabis Carrie. Hi, Carrie.
Hey, Russ, how's it going today?
Oh, my goodness, I have to plug you in. It'll sound a lot better. Let's try that again. Now people can hear you.
Can you hear me now, Russ?
Now we can hear you. Yeah, so many things to plug in here in the studio. By the way, folks, speaking of stuff plugged in and all this equipment that I'm working with here in the studio, if you've been missing the Pirate Ganja John, I tell you, I've been missing him too. This is hard to do, all this stuff all at once. If you're looking at the cam, you can see all the stuff we got to keep track of. My left hand is my engineer, my right hand is my director, and I still got to talk during all this. So Ganja John should be back next week, we anticipate. He's been just making sure that his health's all taken care of before he commits to coming back. So we will see Ganja John shortly. Now, Cannabis Carrie brings us our hemp headlines right here at the beginning. Before we get to that, though, aren't you excited about the Green today?
I am so excited about the Green. It's one of the bands that I've fallen in love with over the summer, and I watch their videos on YouTube all the time, so it'll be fun to hear them speak to us here on Normal Show Live. And I heard they're very excited to come on board with Normal and speak here, so win-win for all of us. All
right, so I'll be interviewing them right here at the Irie Wednesday spot at 20 after, and then we'll play a couple of tunes from their new album. So check that out at thegreen808.com. So what do we have for headlines today, Carrie?
Well, today we're going to talk about a countersuit that was filed against Governor Jan Brewer's lawsuit down in Arizona. Also, in some sports news, a boxer gets squeezed out of his Olympic dreams because he tests positive for marijuana, but he might get a second chance. And also a study that we have been quoting quite a bit got yanked for further review. And I think we're going to get really angry about some confections today, too. So all of that in the news.
That's right. I got a time for a little mini rant here at the end of the news. And also, at the end of the show, we visit with Dr. Mitch Earlywine in our Cannabis Science segment. If you've got any questions on the culture, history, science, health matters with regard to cannabis, hemp, marijuana, herb, ganja, whatever you want to call it, this will be your time to call in. It'll be 971-533-7111 is the number. That'll be at the bottom of the hour, though, so hold up until then. It's Normal Show Live, voice of the Marijuana Nation. We are back with Cannabis Carrie in the news right after this.
This is Normal Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that gives us these precious rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search or seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney, Omar Figueroa. Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
Aloha, this is Zion Thompson from The Green, and you're listening to Normal Show Live.
Weedmaps.com. I'm Radical Russ from Normal. In my job as outreach coordinator, I travel every month, and when I'm on the road, I need a fast, accurate way to find the medical marijuana dispensaries in the area. So I turn to Weedmaps.com. Weedmaps.com has the best dispensary locator online or on your mobile device. Search by zip code or let Weedmaps find you, and in seconds you'll have the addresses, phone numbers, and customer service reviews for the medical marijuana dispensaries in the local area. Weedmaps.com also has a section devoted to helping you find a doctor who understands and recommends medical marijuana under your state's law. You can even check prices on the Medical Marijuana Stock Exchange. Coming soon, you'll even be able to find the listings of normal attorneys and chapters, local head shops and grow shops, and the best weed-friendly businesses. Weedmaps.com has the information you need to be an informed cannabis consumer. Visit Weedmaps.com today, a proud sponsor of the Normal Network.
Inhaling deeply of the sacred smoke.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's Normal News with Cannabis Carrie.
World Olympic hopeful nearly lost his chance at an Olympic dream by testing positive for marijuana. Michael Hunter may now get a second chance to represent America in the Olympic boxing ring if he can stay clean and win a few more matches. He was scheduled to compete in the IABA World Boxing Championship that made the cut for the Olympic team, but he tested positive for marijuana back in August during the U.S. Olympic trials. Had he been allowed to compete and finish in the top 6 in a match he was favored to win, he would have automatically earned his spot in next summer's London Games. But now he has to start all over again, but he still has a small chance. He told the press this morning that it was a mistake on his part and added, quote, "The lesson I learned was I need to watch who I'm hanging around with. I made a bad decision and it could have cost me everything, but I've got a second chance and I'm going to take advantage of it." Hunter received a gold medal at the Olympic trials, but then had to forfeit his medal and accepted a 3-month-long suspension. He also completed a USADA anti-doping education program as part of his penalty. But because the USADA considers marijuana a specific substance, he is able to receive a reduced sanction. Joseph Williams, who replaced Hunter in the World Championships, lost in the second round, and out of 10 weight classes, the U.S. only qualified 3 boxers. So there are now 7 open spots. That means boxers can fill those spots on the Olympic team beginning in March when the USA holds its national championships. Winners of those matches can compete in the final International Olympic qualifying tournament that will be held in May in Brazil. We will be watching to see if Michael Hunter makes the team.
All right, Rocky, come on in here. I gotta talk to you a little bit. I want you to get in there and I want you to pound the guy, right? I want you to work him over like a slab of beef. You understand what I'm saying? You gotta be like lightning in a bottle, an Italian stallion. I want you to punch him right in the head and then an uppercut underneath the chin. You know what I'm talking about? And then I want you to cover up and let him do a little rope-a-dope and let him hit you over again. But you're gonna take it, Rocky, because you're a fighter. Take it right to the head. And what are you doing? No, don't light that joint. Oh my God, you wouldn't want to do that, Rocky. Oh my God, it'll be the end of your career. There's no way you could recover from something like that.
And a new lawsuit in Arizona was filed this week to add another aspect to the medical marijuana dispensary debate that is going on in our newest medical marijuana state of Arizona. Back in May, Arizona State Governor Jan Brewer filed a lawsuit ordering the federal government to clear up the confusion that she says is inherent in the voter-passed initiative to allow medical marijuana. But now the owners of PHX Co-op filed a countersuit against Brewer's challenge of the current medical marijuana law. They say that Brewer's lawsuit is a specific attack on them. See, they set up the marijuana co-op as a safe place where medical marijuana users can meet, trade, and learn to smoke and ingest cannabis without fear of breaking the law. The co-op's countersuit is seeking to distinguish their social clubs from dispensaries that actually sell marijuana. The lawsuit's filers say a win would allow them to remain open and operate legally. Governor Brewer's lawsuit against the federal government is still being continued as U.S. District Court Judge Susan Bolton is considering the case.
God, you know, Arizona went through hell just to get this thing passed. It passed just by the slimmest of margins, 50.13%. But it very clearly outlined a system of dispensaries, a way of getting safe access to this medicine for the patients. And here, the governor and the attorney general are standing in the way, stonewalling in this, offering these lame excuses about the scary letters from the federal government, etc., etc. So some people here are trying to step up, trying to help out, trying to obey the law, give people a safe place where they can meet, where they can medicate, where they can get clones. They expect the weed fairy to just drop this stuff into people's lap. And there's people out there suffering from cancer who don't have a lot of time. They don't have time to start a garden and wait for a harvest. They need their medicine now. And for these people, these bureaucrats, to be standing in the way with this political posturing, with this moralizing against the users of cannabis who choose it over other traditional medicines that are much more toxic, much more harmful to their health. It's just such a shame, and I wish we could just legalize this altogether for everyone, so we wouldn't have to keep fighting these battles with the sick people on the front lines.
And we reported earlier this month about a Rand Corporation study that was looking into crime statistics and medical marijuana dispensaries. Much was made about the findings in the study titled Regulating Medical Marijuana Dispensaries, an overview with preliminary evidence of their impact on crime. The study found that areas where dispensaries were forced to close had an increase in crime. Now, that study was released on September 22nd, and it compared neighborhoods where dispensaries were allowed to remain open compared to those that were forced to close their doors. But today, the Rand Corporation has withdrawn that study from their website with the message that, quote, the study has been withdrawn pending further review. The Los Angeles Times reported today that the decision from the Santa Monica-based research facility came 3 weeks after the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office criticized the study's assumptions and demanded an immediate retraction. In the wake of the dispensary wars in Los Angeles County, where city officials and city lawmakers have been in disagreement for years on how to handle LA's medical marijuana dispensaries, the study came as the first systematic analysis of the claim that dispensaries are linked to crime, an oft-quoted remark by LA law enforcement. The study did only look at a very thin slice of time, the crime statistics for a 10-day period before and after June 7th of 2010, when LA officials ordered more than 70% of the city's 638 medical marijuana dispensaries to close, in part because of their presumed link to crime. That Rand study found that crime increased an average of 59% within 0.3 of a mile of a dispensary that had been closed compared to those that were left open. The city attorney's office says that the study didn't go far enough to track the dispensary's precise opening and closing, and therefore the findings were flawed since some dispensaries remained open during that time. Since some dispensaries reopened during that time. The city attorney wrote an open letter to the Rand Corporation about the study's finding, calling them highly suspect and unreliable based on faulty assumptions, conjecture, irrelevant data, untested measurements, and incomplete results. The letter went on to say that they were terribly troubled by the suggestion that a 10-day period, and just to be sure, it was actually a 20-day period, of statistical review can constitute a relevant crime trend. The study's retraction was timed just days after the U.S. Department of Justice crackdown letters to California's medical marijuana dispensaries, collectives, and the owners of properties that house them.
All right, I'm going to give Rand a little benefit of the doubt here, because some of those objections that are brought up are some of the same things that Dr. Mitch and I bring up when we're shooting down the Reefer Madness articles, of too small a sample size, of not a broad enough a set of controls, not dealing with confounding factors. So I'll give some benefit of the doubt of this. Perhaps they've realized that, maybe this is something we need to do more in-depth work on, get some more cross meta-analysis on this stuff, go for longer periods of time, be more accurate about when the dispensaries open or close. I'm actually not too upset about this study being pulled, because I have a feeling the one that they come out with after they do this review will be even more in our favor, will even show more crime reduction where there are dispensaries, crime increase where the dispensaries are gotten rid of, for one simple factor. people are going to need to get their medicine. And if they live in a small neighborhood and they have limited access to transportation and the dispensary in their neighborhood closes, someone else will show up there to be able to get them their medicine. They will do it. The street dealer will pop up and take that opportunity. The question is not whether or not there's going to be dispensaries. The question is whether or not they're going to be regulated. All right, looks like we got a little bit of time here. Let's see if we can get this going here.
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, I knew it was only a matter of time before Fox News got their snarling fangs into this story. We reported on this a little while ago with the city councilman that brought up the Buffalo City Council member, Darius Pridgeon, who brought up the ring pots candy that are being marketed right now. You can see on the camera right here the big green bag ring pots. It's just a candy sucker, you know. You've seen the ones they kind of look like the babies, what are they called? Pacifiers, right? But instead of a pacifier on the end, it's got a pot leaf on the end. And then on the bottom of the packaging there, a young-looking pot smoker, right? He's got a joint in his lips. He's doing a peace sign. Got the little, shaggy goatee. It's almost Shaggy from Scooby-Doo there with the pot leaf hat on. And then to the right of him, the word legalize. And so Fox News is blowing this story up, and people are all upset and calling for bans on this. They must be banned. And they talked to the guy who is one of the marketing people here behind this, who said his company carries several products with the marijuana leaf and legalize message to accommodate growing demand in the movement to legalize marijuana. We don't advocate for a political position. We just look at what the marketplace wants and respond to it, the wholesaler said. It's just candy. It's sour apple flavor. It doesn't claim to be pot in disguise or anything. Now, one of the things they did when these council members brought this up is they brought up that these convenience stores that were selling these ring pots and what were some of the others? The pothead ring pots, pothead lollipops, other candies like that, were also selling the Spice K2, right? So very often, when we get opposed here, they like to bring other drugs in to help demonize marijuana. They like to say drug problems so that we think of heroin and meth and coke, not just cannabis. Well, this is the same tactic, right? Bring in the K2 to deflect and confuse the issue, the danger of K2 being associated with these ring pots, these candies, which have no cannabis in them whatsoever. All right, now, let me address the idea here of, but what about the children? What about the marketing of the children? You know what? I'm actually on these council members' side in that respect, that these shouldn't be on the bottom shelf amongst the Snickers bars available where the kids get them, any more than we have candy cigarettes anymore, or that we allow the Joe Camel cartoons or the Budweiser frogs. I agree. Adult things should not be marketed to children. However, that does not mean that we have to make a world where it's only safe for children, where everything is child-proofed. I can still go and get a set of those bubblegum cigars. They're not marketed to kids. They're marketed as, it's a boy, it's a girl, kind of things. I can still get those. That's perfectly okay, right? Because it's marketed to an adult. And here, like at Voodoo Donuts here in Portland, they have penis-shaped, confections people buy. We have cakes, that are marketed with X-rated themes. And that's fine because they're not marketed to children. They're marketed for adults. Just because something is candy and it's sweet doesn't mean that it's only for kids. Hell, I would love some sour apple pot leaf shaped gummy candies. I think that would be great. And furthermore, I noticed that they're not protesting the Willy Wonka pucker rooms. There's a little convenience store just down the street here, just a block away from the studio, and they have these Willy Wonka pucker rooms, which are these sour gummy candies shaped like mushrooms. I wonder what's going on there. They don't seem to be protesting that, though. It's only the pot leaves we've got a problem with. And again, the other thing I have an issue here with is when we talk about the candy cigarettes, that's the marketing of the act of smoking to kids. But a pot leaf itself and the word legalize is not necessarily the marketing of smoke and dope. If they were giving out bong-shaped candies or joint-shaped candies, you might have something there. But why do we have this urge to censor nature? We got to tell the kids that the shape of a pot leaf itself, the shape of one of nature or God's creations, take your pick, is so inherently offensive, it must be shielded from the children at all costs. I don't buy that. But let's compromise. Let's compromise with the parents that are worried about it. Take it off the lower shelves, get it away from the kids in the convenience stores, but don't stop stop these companies from marketing to us adults. Adults like candy too. All right, there we go. That's your radical rant, and it's about time that we take a break here. Thanks for joining us here. We'll be right back with The Green from Hawaii and 2 songs for Irie Wednesday. Stay tuned.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Normal Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
The High Times Medical Cannabis Cup is coming to Detroit on October 15th and 16th. That's right, the world's premier medical marijuana competition will be in Motown to celebrate the cannabis economy of the Great Lakes State. It's a 2-day expo at Birch Warehouse Theater, showcasing the movers and shakers of the Michigan medical marijuana industry and the merchandise that makes the machine go. There will be seminars with leaders of the medical marijuana movement, doctors, patients, researchers, growers, dispensary owners, and activists. Plus, High Times own cultivation editors Danny Danko and Nico Escondido will roll into town with the goods on growing great ganja. Be there for an amazing Saturday night VIP party featuring top musical performances and special guests. High Times will award the Medical Cannabis Cup for top indicas, sativas, hybrids, concentrates, and edibles, entered by Michigan's dispensaries and collectives. Come to Birch Warehouse Theater on October 15 and 16. Visit medcancup.com for all the details. Celebrate cannabis in Michigan. Celebrate the resurgence of Detroit. Be part of the growing cannabis community.
In today's busy world, we're inundated by advertising for all types of pharmaceuticals that come with a laundry list of potential side effects. Shouldn't you have better medical choices? Natural alternatives to pills pushed by Big Pharma? At Alternative Medical Choices, you could choose natural, safe, and effective alternative therapies that are right for your budget without nasty side effects. Cannabis, or marijuana, has been a legal medicine in the Pacific Northwest since 1998. Our doctors will help determine your qualifications for a medical marijuana recommendation in Oregon, no matter where you live. Our massage therapists will ease your aches and stress with soothing hemp seed oil or cannabis-infused massage salves. We also offer acupuncture, Reiki, and other alternative health therapies. Call Alternative Medical Choices in Portland, Oregon at 503-288-5579 or visit our website at www.altmedchoices.com. We specialize in out-of-state recommendations. That's www.altmedchoices.com or call 503-288-5579.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today we get tunes for Irie Wednesday, our celebration of that mellow vibe we find in the best of reggae, ska, calypso, and Latin music. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on Normal Show Live, send it to us at stash@normal.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes.
Oh, folks, we are in for a treat. I've been enjoying this band since our wonderful Wiz Kaliko, a.k.a. Kaliko the Intern, introduced us to him on Irie Wednesday. It's The Green from Hawaii, and joining us from Hawaii is Zion, and may I say mahalo and aloha.
Hey, what's up, Russ? Thanks for having me, brother. Aloha.
So glad to have you here. So, we've heard a lot of your music here. Tell folks how the band came together, The Green. What are you guys all about there, and how has life been treating you?
Right on, man. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, brother. Much respect to all you guys. We're from Hawaii. We've been jamming together for a long time. We're kind of young guys. Some of us are actually family. A couple of guys are cousins, tour managers, brothers with one of our singers. So kind of family vibes, but the musical community in Hawaii is really small, and we've all known each other for a long time. Common interests and common drives just kind of kept us together throughout these years, and now we're the Green.
Right on. Now, what got you personally into music? Was it schools or family or a little of both?
For me personally, I know it was just kind of always there, family, I guess. And I mean, it's just, it's in the blood ever since I was a little kid, just listening to music and standing in front of the speakers and rocking back and forth and that kind of thing. But everybody in our band has been singing and playing and even performing from a pretty young age. So I don't know, it's just kind of always been there, that's always been the main thing. My parents didn't really care if I did sports. They just encouraged music.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. We're speaking with Zion from The Green, and you guys can check out their website and their music at thegreen808.com. Of course, 808 being the area code for Hawaii. Now I was a musician touring around in the Pacific Northwest for a long time, and I got involved in the club scene there, and there was a lot of places to go and play. What's it like trying to be a professional musician making it in the islands? I mean, is there a whole lot of places to play, and do you guys have to come out to the mainland a lot?
Yeah, well, I guess it's kind of, it depends on what you want to do. There's a lot of bands in Hawaii that choose to stay in Hawaii, or for whatever, maybe they don't choose to, maybe they just can't leave Hawaii for whatever reason, because it costs so much to get across the ocean and to bring everything and everyone. But for us, it's what we're trying to do right now. It's really crucial for us to come out here and try and plant some seeds and stuff, and that's kind of a mission that the path we're following right now. We're trying to link up with, all the bands out here and, the big groups and keep the movement going. But there's sort of a little buzz right now that, that we like to feel like we're a part of with, the J Boogs and, just even the Soulja Vibe and bands like Stranger from San Diego and, and Revolution and all those other guys too. So we're trying to, make ourselves known out here and plant some seeds and spread out. But we play a lot of shows back home in Hawaii, a lot of big shows and small shows, and grad parties, first birthday luau's, weddings, all that stuff. That's our bread and butter back home.
Right. Now, speaking of planting seeds, obviously the band's name is The Green. So how does the Pakalolo fit in with The Green? How does that all work out?
Well, the name it's kind of just there, ambiguous, but it can mean a lot of things, but for us, that's one of the meanings. And members of our band, we burn and stuff, but we also, we coming from Hawaii too, we're real proud of where we come from and the ocean and the land, and so that's one of the things too that the green represents for us. And I don't know, you can define it how you want, but
yeah. Well, we
play reggae music though. So,
right on. Well, the culture, the weed culture, has long time fabled the Hawaiian bud. So, how is the scene out there in Hawaii?
It's good, man. It's nothing like what's on in California and stuff. The advancement of just, it's everywhere, but
yeah.
Hawaii is, like you said, has always been famous for the Pakalolo, and we've always had good herb. Kona Gold, Maui Waui, and Puna Butter, and all that stuff that you hear about. But honestly, though, like a lot of the good herb that we get, guys out here on the mainland are saturated.
Oh, we're getting some problem with your headset there. A little bit of distortion there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Yeah, let's get that fixed up. The green808.com is the website for folks if you want to check that out and check out their music. We're speaking with Zion here, who's calling us from Hawaii. And, let's talk about your new album. You got new songs, new album. We're going to play some of the tunes off of this. Tell people about it.
Right on. Our new album is called Ways and Means. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks.
Okay, great. Yeah, new album comes out on October 25th. It's our second album. We just released an EP with 5 songs on it. And our new album is coming out on Easy Star Records. We're proud to be on Easy Star. I've been listening to those guys forever.
Yeah.
And just did a tour with those guys too. So yeah, we're stoked. It's good music, and actually I'm calling you from California right now.
Oh, you're in Cali.
We
Okay.
just started. Yeah, we just started. We're on the 5th show of a 7-week tour right now. Going all across the U.S., all the way to the East Coast from here. So
give us the next few dates coming up, so that our listeners, we got listeners all over the country. So next 2 or 3 dates that coming up.
Yeah, we got tonight in Solana Beach at the Belly Up with Stranger and the Simpkin Project, and then we're going to Fort Collins, Colorado tomorrow. We're going to do a bunch of Colorado.
We got big support in Fort Collins, Colorado for Normal. We'll get you some coverage out there for sure.
Yeah, man. We love Colorado, and we're playing at the Aggie over there. So, yeah, we're going to be going, we're coming back to the West Coast again after that. We're going up to, like, Idaho and all that, and coming down through Cali again, L.A.
Where are you playing in Idaho?
We're doing the Reef in Boise.
Oh, far out. Well, we've got a great Idaho Normal chapter there, and some Moms for Marijuana chapters. We'll tell all them, too. We got some personal friends out there. We'll have them show up and support the Green.
You guys are everywhere, man. That's awesome.
Well, weed is everywhere, so Normal's everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I met Kaliko is his name, right?
Yes.
The brother I met at the Doug Fur that first time, and yeah, man, it's cool. I was stoked to meet him because we've been following you guys, and very supportive of your guys' cause and what you're doing. So.
Well, how does your music translate into activism? Do you guys do songs about legalization per se? Do you give people information on it? What do you guys? How does that fit in with your music?
I think the herb parts of the music are just kind of in there naturally. I mean, I've heard some people say that we're called the Green and we burn and all this, but we don't have songs that are just straight up about like smoking herb and stuff like that. But I mean, we have one or two, but they're not. It's more just in there as a part of the message. Like, I mean, we have a song called "Wake Up," and it's about a guy or a girl, whoever, who's just kind of lost and thinking that just partying and smoking and drinking is cool, but there's more to it than that. You gotta know how to do it and know how to just, you know what I mean, take care
moderate
of
and responsible. Yeah, moderate and responsible.
Right, just it's like wake up, open your eyes,
That's really cool. There's a lot of range to the musicians that support the movement, from say Cottonmouth Kings, where it's all about weed, every song's weed pretty much, and then all the way to another extent, like Blues Traveler, let's say, where none of their songs are really about weed, but we know they're big supporters. So there's a lot of room for everyone in here. Hey, we got to wind this up, but we got one of your songs coming up here, "Love and Affection," and that's going to be followed by "She Was the Best." Again, it's thegreen808.com. And Zion, thanks so much for joining us here on Normal Show Live. We appreciate it.
Radical Rush, thank you so much for having me and for supporting the Green and for supporting Green all over. Much respect to Normal. Thank you so much.
All right, let's get this on. This is Love and Affection from the Green, thegreen808.com, and big thanks to Wiz Kaliko for bringing him to our attention. Thanks a lot, Zion. We'll talk to you again sometime.
Like no other woman of the nation, you are the one on my mind. You give me the sense of direction. Like no other woman of the nation, you are the one on my mind. Yeah, well, first of all, I got to start off by introducing myself to you. I'm a true local boy. I was raised on the poor. Reggae music was all I knew. Speakers blasting on the passenger side of my dad to reggae going for the ride. You remember? Ooh, you remember, Lord. Yeah. She tell me lies, you give me pie. She hold me close, you hold me tight. She try me teeth, you give me mine. She might not be forever, you will never leave my side. You give me love and affection like no other woman of the nation. You are the one on my mind. You give me the sense of direction like no other woman of the nation. You are the
I already know you. Yeah, you've been part of my life for a while, baby, since day 2 love apart. Before I go to sleep at night, I take a drive to ease my mind. Speakers blasting on the passenger side of my dad to back and going for the ride. You remember? Ooh, you remember, Lord. Oh yeah, she tell me lies, you give me pie. She hold me close, you hold me tight. She drive me deep, you give me mine. She might not be forever, you will never leave my side. You give me love and affection like no other woman in my nation. You are the one on my mind. You give me the sense of direction like no other woman in my nation. You are the one on my mind. There's no need to introduce yourself, I already know you, baby. You've been part of my life for a while, baby, since day 2, Lord. Before I go to sleep at night, I take a drive to ease my mind. Speakers blasting on the passenger side of my dad to wagging going for a ride. You remember, no, you remember. You remember, oh, you remember. She tell me lies, you give me pride. She hold me close, you hold me tight. She drive me deep, you give me mine. She might not be forever, you will never leave my side. You give me love and affection like no other woman in my nation. You are the one on my mind. You give me the sense of direction like no other woman in my nation. You are the one on my mind. You give me love and affection like no other woman in my nation. You are the one on my mind. You give me the sense of direction like no other woman in my nation. You are the one on my mind.
You're listening to the Normal Network, where the time is 4:20, 24/7, 365.
Cause she always came running to me, thinking about how she loved and was loved by me. She was the best cause she always came running to me. Yeah, thinking about how she loved and was loved by me. Well, and she greet me with a smile. Ah, yeah, she greet me with a kiss. Never alone she leaves me. Just ask her we to wine until I come along. Cause never alone she leaves me. Oh, yeah. No, she never leaves me alone. No, she never leaves me alone. Yeah. She was the best cause she always came running to me, thinking about how she loved and was love. Love then was loved by me. She was the best, cause she always came running to me. Yeah, thinking about how she loved and was loved by me. Oh, and she always come around. Well, every time I'm feeling down, cause never alone she leaves me. And she always brings my style on when my times are feeling hard. Cause never alone she leaves me. Oh, no, 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 no. She'd waste my time. No. Yeah, when she come around, with joy. Cause never alone she leaves me, baby. No, 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 no. No, she never leaves me alone. Woo, woo, yeah, yeah. She was the best, cause she always came running to me. Thinking about how she loved and was loved by me. She was the best, cause she always came running to me. Yeah, thinking about how she loved and was loved by me. She was the best. She was the best. She was the best. She was the best. She was the best.
That's The Green with She Was the Best, and before that, Love and Affection. Please check them out at thegreen808.com. Mahalo to Zion. Thanks so much for the interview. We're coming back with Dr. Mitch right after this.
You want a copy of that song for your iPod? Check out the Daily Toker Tunes at the Stash blog by surfing to stash.normal.org and choosing Media, and then Toker Tunes from the main menu.
It's tough talking to kids about marijuana, especially if you might be a parent who dabbled a time or two in your youth. So to help you out, get your copy of Dr. Mitch Earlywine's latest book, A Parent's Guide to Marijuana. Dr. Earlywine is an associate professor of psychology at the State University of New York at Albany and an expert on the studies concerning marijuana, its effect on health and society, and the methodology behind the statistics. He is a frequent guest here on our daily audio stash. Dr. Earlywine lays it all out without the propaganda and scare tactics that parents know won't work with teenagers. He presents a rational understanding of cannabis, what it is and what it isn't, and why kids shouldn't be using marijuana. You can order today through Amazon.com or check our links at our blog, stash.normal.org.
When I was in England, I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
I think you'd probably be a lot cooler if you had, Mr. President.
Said, hey, do you have a joint, kid? Sure would be a lot cooler if you did. Light it, don't hide it. Light it, don't hide it. Oh, light it, don't hide it. Light it, don't hide it. Just light it, don't hide it. Fire it up right now.
It's time for Normal Show Live's Cannabis Science with Dr. Mitch Earlywine. Dr. Earlywine is a professor of psychology at the State University of New York in Albany and the author of Understanding Marijuana. Now here's your dose of cannabis science.
All right, we welcome back Dr. Mitch Earlywine to the show. How you doing, sir?
Having a great day.
All right, glad to hear it. And we're going to start right off with something that we covered in the news here earlier on the show, and it was about the RAND study. We covered this about RAND saying they had looked at dispensaries and found that there was more crime 10 days after they closed than there was 10 days before they closed. RAND has pulled this study, and I was wondering if you had any more insight on that.
The bottom line was they got a lot of criticism, apparently because no one had confirmed that those dispensaries had actually closed on the day that the law began to take effect. And so they're thinking that perhaps they were still open in the 10 days subsequent, or had closed a few days earlier and that would have muddied the waters somehow. But if you really think about it, if they were still open in those subsequent days, wouldn't the crime have been comparable in the 10 days before, not dramatically more in the 10 days after? So I find this critique really weak, and I feel sad for those RAND researchers who went to all the effort to gather those data only to have it essentially removed because somebody decided they didn't like the results.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that we didn't see this kind of scrutiny when Rand was coming out in 2010 on the Prop 19 campaign, saying that, if we legalize in California, it really wouldn't hurt the Mexican cartels that much. It would only be 2% of their business. And everybody said, that Rand said it. It must be true. Okay, funny how that changes when it's a different political outcome, huh?
Sad but true. Sad but true.
All right. So we're taking questions for Dr. Mitch Earlywine here live. You can call in at 971-533-7111 during our 1 o'clock Pacific live hour. And if you're on our chat room right now, you can send your questions in via chat, and Cannabis Carry will get those to us as well. But before we get to the questions, we always like to give Dr. Mitch a chance to fill us in on some of the latest studies or surveys on marijuana. What's new in science?
I actually had a comment on the history aspects, if you will, some emails going around asking about the Declaration of Independence being written on hemp paper.
Uh-huh.
And I just wanted to confirm that the first drafts of the Declaration of Independence were written on hemp paper, but not the Declaration of Independence itself. And in fact, I mentioned that on the History Channel on Marijuana Chronic History, if folks happen to catch that.
Yeah, I always like to make it a soundbite. I always like to say the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence was drafted on hemp paper, not written, drafted, so it's one of the draft copies. So, got to parse the words sometimes. There was a study that came up, and it seems like, just echoing what we've heard before. This was out of Newsday, which I believe is, Newsday.com, saying that pot smoking may more than double the crash risk. And this was a review in Epidemiologic Reviews saying more and more states consider the medical use of marijuana. There could be health implications, implying that there's, much more crash risk. The risk of crash was 2.7 times higher among marijuana users than non-users, the authors found. And the response was dose-specific. That is, the more marijuana smoked in terms of frequency and potency, the greater likelihood of a crash. I don't know if you've seen that study, but any commentary on that?
In fact, the number itself, that 2.7 times, is what's misleading. There were some data that suggest that folks who were currently intoxicated, like immediately after smoking, might have some higher likelihood of crash risk, but they were confounded with the folks who had also used alcohol, and we do know that in combination that does make you a retarded driver in all kinds of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they're not giving the details on that dose dependence issue as well, so it's not more frequent users, but higher dose in the lab suggests an opportunity for impairment. And obviously, we're also not controlling for essentially the impulsivity of the driver. Who gets really, really baked and then gets behind the wheel of a car? Folks who are probably impulsive drivers in the first place. And so that seems to sort of fail to take that into account. The idea that this would generalize to folks who are, say, medical users of cannabis for cancer-related chemotherapy or age-related wasting is just completely farcical.
Yeah, and I would like to note, even though, of course, correlation isn't causation, but I would like to note that when I took a look at DUI stats and accident stats in Oregon and a few of the other Western medical marijuana states, I saw them all decline since the implementation of medical marijuana laws. So I'm not saying that medical marijuana makes the streets safer, but it doesn't seem to make them more dangerous.
I'd love to talk to you about those data because it sounds like there's a paper that needs to be written.
Okay. And we're taking questions here on the line 971-533-7111, but we've got a few coming in from the chat room. Let's get right to it. First question here says, is smoking the very first thing in the morning, aka wake and bake, be safe? I mean, are you headed toward more of a dependence if that is when you like to get high? If you like to get high in the morning, are you more likely to become dependent?
As it turns out, we don't have a lot of data on that, but folks generalizing from the alcohol literature have suggested that that's the case. And in truth, it really depends on your work schedule and other things like that. So is this interfering with your relationships, your ability to work well, your ability to learn new material and things like that? Well, then by all means, put it off till later in the day.
Yeah, good advice. We have a question here. Can smoking cannabis oil clog your heart?
Not literally clog your heart. So, no, it's not going to like get in your aorta and make it so your heart doesn't beat. The oils that are prepared properly shouldn't have any big difference from smoking other sources of THC, but unfortunately I'm not confident in an underground market that all oils are made properly, and so that's been my biggest concern about that issue.
Okay. We have a question here from Jackaroo59. Can cannabis use affect the urinary tract in any way?
It does look like in chronic users what happens is, it sounds weird, but basically getting started, the ability to initiate the urine flow seems to be slower in some folks who've been using for years and years, but we're still just getting the initial reports on that, and that's often confounded by things like Benadryl or over-the-counter antihistamines and things like that, and so it's important to pay attention to that. But otherwise, there aren't any real direct effects on urinary tract.
Okay. This is an interesting question. I'm a regular cannabis consumer, and I can usually hide it out in public. But when I smoke hash or oil, I get those telltale red, sleepy-looking eyes and look very stoned. Anything you can do to combat stoned-looking eyes?
Alas, this, in fact, is one of the questions I have of folks who don't want to confess to being marijuana users is, do they know the price of Visine? And often, if they do, that's a revealing thing. So I have to confess, I have a big bottle right here, and that at least handles the red aspects. But what I would recommend is, by all means, feel free to get high when you're staying in.
You know, I don't want to get a specific brand recommendation necessarily, but, you know, they market a lot of these different products. You know, the Ben Stein markets one of them, and then there's the one that you mentioned, and they market different qualities of them. This one's for tired eyes, this one's for red eyes, this one's for sleepy eyes and burning eyes, whatever. Are there any particular things to look for when you're buying eye drops that would make it better for our purposes than one or the other? Any ingredient or anything?
Ideally, if they have, well, it's not an easy thing to see, but polyethylene glycol in a small, or paroxidine in a small percentage, you're going to do okay. Otherwise, the distinction between tired eyes and red eyes and things like that is often just the presence or absence of other different kinds of lubricants, and I don't think it will actually have that much of an impact on our needs.
Okay. Does cannabis, another question from the chat room here, does cannabis or cannabis extracts have any antibacterial or antifungal properties?
Yeah, in fact, we've known this now since at least the 1950s, and it was implied by Sheneng in 2800 BC. But it's not clear exactly how to do it. So some of the oils and some of the extracts may work as an antifungal in certain situations. The deal is, though, we have a whole lot of really good ones, both over-the-counter and prescription, that are probably a little easier to use and a little more straightforward to get from a physician. And so that's why this use hasn't caught on as much as some of the other medical uses.
Okay. We have a follow-up here from NorCal Kid. Interesting follow-up, because when we asked that question about the oils and clogging your heart, he said, well, if the properly prepared oils and all that, but that leads to this follow-up. In what ways would an improperly prepared oil affect the heart?
Well, the sad thing is that some of the solvents and some of the other products used to create oil are flammable, tend to get really hot, and then if you're inhaling that, of course, your heart tries to compensate. You end up beating faster. Cannabis does increase heart rate anyway, and so then that tends to be the sort of cardiac negative effect.
Okay. Again, you know, like Dean Becker says on his show, because of prohibition, you don't know what's in that bag, so be careful. We have a question here from Nice and High. Wants to know, what benefits come from cannabis to help with Huntington's disease?
As it turns out, Huntington's is one of the few that really doesn't benefit much as far as cannabis is concerned. So generally, Huntington's has a tremor associated with it, and we've seen good effects of cannabis on tremor in some of the other motion-related disorders, particularly those that involve the dopaminergic system. But for Huntington's chorea, at least, it doesn't seem to help very much, other than the general, improving mood and handling depression and things like that. It doesn't seem to limit the tremor in the same way we had hoped for, say, what we see with Tourette's or other movement disorders.
Okay. A question from Megan Dabbs. Do you believe in taking breaks from cannabis? If so, how often and for how long would you recommend?
I'm a big fan of taking breaks, in part because it decreases your tolerance, so then your weed bill essentially goes down. But also I think it helps you appreciate it so you don't end up with this automaticity of use. I really think the regularity of breaks depends upon the regularity of your use. Generally, folks who are just getting high, say, once or twice a week, I think that's really a built-in break as it is. So if you're literally not getting high 5 days a week, that's in a sense your break. For daily users, I really encourage folks to take a week off and then see how you feel. And in part, if you're anxious, irritable, or anything like that the first couple of days, that's kind of sending you a message that, hey, maybe being a daily user isn't quite what I want. I also encourage folks to use little dabble do ya theory. As we've seen in a number of normal conferences now, tolerance tends to develop to high doses much more rapidly than low doses. If really what you want is those nice enhancement of your appetite and a quick way to fall asleep, you don't need a giant bowl of hash. A nice puff off the train wreck will usually do the trick, and then your tolerance will stay low, and so will your bills.
All right. And, as a follow-up on that, I had recently written a post where I was rebutting the drug czar's rebuttal to Representative Cohen. And, of course, the drug czar threw out a lot of the statistics, the shocking statistic that the National Institutes of Drug Abuse say there's a lifetime dependence rate of 9% for cannabis. Of course, he fails to mention that that's the same rate for coffee, caffeine, and the rates for legal drugs are much higher than that. But, he tried to make that as a shocking statistic, and it got me to thinking about, well, what is actually being defined as cannabis dependence? I mean, I'm a daily user of cannabis, but I still get a lot of shit done. So, I mean, what qualifies as dependence when they make these statistics, and how do you separate that? Because I believe some of the qualities are like, you spend a lot of time trying to get it. Well, yeah, it's illegal. How do the psychologists and the statisticians determine dependence?
It's good that you asked this, because in fact my friend Chris Martin is on the committee to redefine what dependence is going to be. Right now, if you show tolerance, withdrawal, and any one other of 7 symptoms, you get diagnosed with dependence. Well, clearly this is ridiculous when one of those symptoms is, as you mentioned, spending a lot of time trying to get it when it's in an underground market. The other one that usually drives me crazy is legal problems. So, what a surprise, my friends who drink alcohol every single day, they're much less likely to develop legal problems than somebody who's using something that's part of the illicit market. And so it's really biased against cannabis users in order to get that 9% rate in the first place. The other thing is that 9% rate has been reified. That was from one single study. Sometimes they're as few as 6% in big samples. Sometimes they're as many as 12 if they start calling it cannabis-related problems. And so I feel like this is really silly. The other thing is, what is cannabis dependence under those circumstances? You don't see people out on the street doing hand jobs for a cannabis addiction, There aren't people running around committing robberies and thefts in order to support a cannabis habit. So obviously, trying to compare this to the hard drugs is absurd.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you put it that way, Dr. Mitch, but I'm going to have to try to get that thought out of my head now. It's going to be a little difficult. Hey, folks, if you didn't have time to get your question in with Dr. Mitch Earleywine, you can always send your questions by email to 420research@gmail.com. That's 420research@gmail.com. Now, next week, Dr. Mitch will be off. Thank you, Dr. Mitch, for giving the slot up. We're going to have Clint Werner on the show, the author of Marijuana Health for Health and Understanding, I think is the name of the book. But we'll visit with Dr. Mitch in 2 weeks. So thanks so much, sir. We'll talk to you then.
Looking forward to it. Bye now.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here for Normal Show Live. We are the voice of the Marijuana Nation. If you're listening on the podcast, come join us live sometime. We do this all throughout hour 2 and talk about a whole bunch more stuff and take your calls at 971-533-7111. For Cannabis Carry, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
the earth.
This is Normal Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it out one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.